Hey guys, so this is what you're going to be creating. It's called a triptych, where you have three different pictures representing a whole theme that all go together. Ideally, you want to have a shot from the outside of the car or object, the inside, and a detail shot. That way you're having some different variation about telling a story of what you have photographed. This is simple. Really all we're doing is we have shapes, rectangles here. We're using a grid to help us create that. So like find online, go to Google, and just type in, I need a photography grid or layout, and it should pop up, and you can just drag any kind of grid you want. It doesn't have to be rectangles, by the way. It could be circles, octagons, diagonal lines, and so here's just some ideas about what you could do, and then we're just using that as a layout. So we're going to start from the very beginning and go ahead and start here. Go to photography grid layout and pick something that finds interesting. You don't have to just do three. You could do as many as you want. These ones are kind of nice because they're just different and they're not just rectangles and squares. But once you find one, you're just going to go ahead and drag it over onto your desktop. So I have then dragged it on here. I have used this grid. There's a lot of different grids on this document, and I chose this one. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and lock that layer so it doesn't move once you have it placed. Then you go over to your shape tool. Your shape tool here, you can just simply drag and drop where you want your shape to be. The fill color does not matter at this point, but you can change the fill if you want. To keep things organized and clean, especially if you're doing rectangles. A little shortcut here is if you hold Option and hold it down, you see how the arrow turns into two arrows? If I hold down Option and drag, it makes a duplicate copy of the exact same size. In addition, if you hold down Shift, it forces it to stay in a straight line. So it's going right down the line there, okay? So again, I'm gonna hold Option, drag, holding also Shift to make it all the same height. And what I'm going to do to stretch this, because if I don't do anything, it's gonna stretch it proportionally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift to allow me to stretch this as high as I want to try to match the other side of my grid right there. Okay. So then I can hide my other grid. I no longer need it. I can check to see, like, are my shapes in the center of the page? Where are they at? I can give myself a nice little border. And this is what we're going to do. We're then going to drag over our pictures. Okay. You could do one at a time, up to you. I like to kind of grab all of them and then just hide them just so that I know that they're in here. So you place it and then drag your files over. Okay, and then you use the eyeball to hide your layers that you're not working on. Okay, so now they're all in here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to figure out, okay, where do I want this to be located? You always want your object to be facing towards the center of your composition. So I wouldn't make sense for my car to be over here because it's going to get cut off, right? So I'm going to have it come towards the center, and I need to find the shape I want it to go into. So it needs to be right above. Okay, if it helps, you could label these by double clicking, and you can help yourself, like, you know, figure out where they go. So this one is going to then now go into this bottom shape. All I have to do is right click on this layer, create clipping mask. And now I can scale it, and it's gonna stay in that squared shape, right? Just like so. So I'm gonna do about right here. I kind of like that composition, right where it's in the center of my page there. Okay, now I can bring the next one. I'm gonna have this one gonna go into the top corner, I think, right here. So let's see. Put this right above the image that I want. Hit create clipping mask, and then now it's inside of my square. Okay, and then I can move it around without it affecting my layout. Okay, and then the next one is this guy here. And what I'm going to do is just make sure it's on top of my shape, which it is, and then I right click, create clipping mask, and then I can adjust it where I want. right? Now, if I'm looking at this in I don't want to have two steering wheel pictures, right? So I'm going to find a different image and put that one in here, and I'm going to do a tail light instead. So my tail light image is right where it needs to be. Right click, create clipping mask, okay? And then I can scale it by using the rectangle tool here and going like this, like so. Now these are different student work, so notice the coloring is completely different. This one was edited to be blue, this one was edited to be more teal, this one kind of matches this one because these are from the same student, but this one's not. That is something to consider when you're doing your triptych or your theme. You want all your colors to match, so you want to make sure that all your edits are synced in Lightroom. The last thing that I'm going to show you how to do is a couple things. Maybe you want to like make this really finalized. You can add some strokes around these. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down to the bottom. So make sure you're on your shape, go to effects, click stroke. And so right now I have a dark blue, right? I have the outside, but I'm going to do it to the inside. I could pick a color that's in my document if I want, depending on what I want it to look like, right? So if I want it to all to be like this darker blue, then I'll hit OK. And every time I do that, I don't have to reset my settings. It'll automatically match my settings from the previous one. So like that's what's really nice, right? So I could do another stroke on this one. So now I have nice borders. I have clean lines. Everything's aligned. I could also add like a drop shadow if I wanted to on this one. So drop shadow, and you can play with how much you want it to like potentially pop off the page, change the angle of your drop shadow, the distance and the spread, like if you want it to be like more clean and crisp, right? So you can play around with some of these settings to see how you like it, okay? That is technically a requirement. If you want to go a little bit further, then you can also have like the image pop out of the car, for example. So all I have to do is go back to my image. Like I want this car to pop out of the frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the car with my object selection. It did a good job, right? Adding to what I needed. You could do the add or subtract up here. You could also potentially use the quick selection or the lasso if that also helps. These are all selection tools. And all I'm going to do once I have what I needed is I'm going to do Command J. And I'm going to bring it to the very top of my page. And so now it's popping out of the page. And if I really wanted to, like I could also do like, let's say an outer glow to it. I want to like really make it pop off of the screen. So I'm going to, as you can tell, it's starting to slowly come more and more alive there. I want to have a blurred edge. I want to do maybe a different, so like right now it has a white line coming out of it, right? And if I don't want part of the car out, I can use my Japan flag down at the bottom, right? The mask layer. And if you remember, we use black to take away, white to bring back. The car is still here, the other layer. It's still right here. So it's not affecting this layer at all. This is what's called a popping out effect. I'm taking away on this copy that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and then take it off of the back side of the car because I don't want it to come to the back side, right? So like I can get rid of that layer by doing my opacity, make sure my brush is all the way up, all right, like so. So I can cut it off so it's not coming out of the frame, okay? You can also add some text of what kind of car you're using. Think about what kind of font you would want. So you can download some fonts by going to dafont.com. When you go to DaFont, you want to make sure that you're looking up something in your theme, right? So like groovy for older looking cars. You could say like what you want it to say, and then you could visualize and see what it looks like. You're going to download it. Once you get your download, then you need to open it up and install. Download and install is not the same. Okay, once you install it, it automatically goes into your Photoshop. Okay, and you could add your effects and things like that also into your overall design. When you're done, you're gonna go to File, Export as a PNG. Always save it as a Photoshop file as well, just in case you need to go back in and do any edits. So save as a Photoshop and then export and turn in as a PNG. Okay, and that's it.